Welcome to The Brass Junkies, a podcast from the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network, featuring interviews with the world's greatest brass players by two thoroughly average ones, Lance LaDuke and myself, Andrew Hitz. Today's episode features Kevin Gebo, trumpet player for the Army Ceremonial Band in Washington, D.C., soloist, chamber musician, and a man who recently got engaged in Italy. He tells us all about it next. Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Brass Junkies with your host, Lance LaDuke. How are you this evening, Lance?
I'm spectacular. I am so happy to be talking to yet another trumpet player.
That was as sincere as it's going to get. And I am Andrew Hitz, and we are mostly honored to be joined this episode by trumpet player extraordinaire Kevin Gebo of the U.S. Army Ceremonial Band. How are you, Kevin?
I'm great today. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We are actually recording this at Fort Myer in a practice room, which we actually kicked a young student who was trying to improve at his craft out of the room. And we are at the Army Tuba Euphonium Workshop, which everyone calls Tuba Euphonium Workshops. They call them tuba conferences, but the euphoniums tend to lawyer up at that point. So we'll throw
it happens.
Yeah, it does happen. So, all right. So we not so long ago worked with Kevin, who was one of the trumpet players on the first album from the Brass Recording Project, joining Rich Kelly were the trumpets for the brass quintet recording that we did of all of J.D. Shaw's arrangements. And can you tell us a little bit about your experience with that? Were you scarred?
A little bit. It's still hurting a little bit, but it's okay. It was a phenomenal experience. Getting to work with four other musicians that are highly respected in the field, that I was familiar with their playing, both their time in and out of the Boston Brass, and to get to sit and spend a couple of days rehearsing, recording, and just working on such a high level with those musicians was so much fun. It was a really great experience.
You know we're not paying you. You don't have to say nice things about us. We can.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it was a couple days too long, but other than that, it was pretty good. Yeah.
So tell us what you do. What's your gig right now? How'd you get to that point?
I am currently, for the last almost 8 years, I've been a trumpet player in the United States Army Band Ceremonial Band. I got to that point through I did some college. I got some college.
Did some fancy book learning. Excellent.
Did my undergrad at the University of Michigan in Ann Arbor.
I'm sorry, we're going to have to go. That's it. That's the end of the show, right?
Lance, where did you go to school?
I went to Michigan State University, the home of the East Lansing, which is the second most, whatever they just said, the second best place to watch football or something like that.
Did you really just say home of the East Lansing?
Ladies and gentlemen, Michigan State.
It's such a nice place now. They've added, it's like the Ohio State. It's the East Lansing. It's sort of taking it. No? Okay, fine.
After I finished school there, I flew across country to get a different view on different scene out in Los Angeles. Did my master's degree at UCLA. And as I was finishing out there, the opening for the ceremonial band came in, and I decided to look into it and give it a shot.
Do you, by any chance, know how Jens's chop problems are doing? We had heard that he was struggling a little bit. We've been praying for him.
Yeah, it's a slow process, but he'll get there one day, maybe.
We should do a Kickstarter. We should have a Kickstarter, Save Jens's Chops. That's that's not a bad idea.
You heard it here first.
That's SaveJens'sChops.com.
.org. We need to make this a 501c3. Yeah. So since we're in a practice room, we got this tiny little mixer. We've only got two microphone inputs. So Lance and I are sharing one, which is why our voices keep on trailing away. So please, if you talk to Jens, tell him that we're thinking about him in these trying times.
I will pass along the information.
we may or may not have had talked about the same subject with Rex Richardson on the last on the last episode of the Brass Junkies. I think we might try and bring it up at every episode.
It's going to be good.
I think that this is going to be a thing now. So
I think it is already.
Yeah. So how did you? How many auditions did you take before you won the one for the Army Band?
I was very lucky and fortunate. That was actually my first major audition that I had prepared for and went after.
Fancy pants.
So I don't take that for granted. I'm very thankful and humbled by that, but I was very fortunate to the first one that I went after. I was lucky to be offered a job.
So you're probably not even that good at auditions.
No.
You only took one of them. You don't have that much experience. There you go. Oh, that got him. That's good.
Let's talk process. What was on the day of, what was the audition like? For anybody who doesn't know or is interested in auditioning for a military band, what happened that day?
The audition process was quite a long one. Obviously, you work on your own and do everything up until the day of. But that day, we had to be on post at 7:30, 8 a.m. Check in, register.
7:38 is a very specific time to be on post. Man, they take it seriously.
It is the Army here, so
the where my 9-month-old son takes baby swimming lessons, there's a sign up on the wall. There's a big, huge water slide, and it says that you have to be 48 inches tall to ride this slide. And I've always thought that that's a very specific height. There can't be that many kids that are allowed to do it, right? Like, sorry, man, you're 49 inches now. You got to use it for a week.
Step along, kid.
Yeah. So let's call it 7:30 a.m.
Right. Well, you're 48 inches tall.
7:30.
That works out pretty well, too. So you could ride the slide.
I'm too short for this slide.
So 7:38.
Checked in, registered, went through a first round where everyone auditioned. I believe that day there were around 50 trumpet players. And then every round, I believe there was 4 throughout the day, and each round kind of cut everyone in half. Towards the end, they went to the 4th round. I believe there was 3 of us. And each round was a completely different list, completely different excerpts. Nothing was repeated. And at the end, we got to play with a couple of the members that were currently in the section, ensemble playing to see how you blend and fit in. And that was the last thing we got to do.
What about, was there a prelim now? I mean, did you have to send a tape or anything, or did you?
I actually did send a tape, and my audition was the last one that I believe the band did, where they picked 4 people out of the tapes and flew them out. After you did MEPS, which is the military.
Isn't MEPS fun?
MEPS
That's
is
really fun.
great.
Explain to the listeners. Do you know what MEPS is, Andrew?
Heck no.
Oh, man. Wait till you hear about MEPS. What a good time.
MEPS is Army doctors checking you out, making sure you are physically and mentally fit and capable to join the Army before you even come to audition for the Army.
It's a whole day of fun, right? They test everything that they can. You walk from one end of a room to the other.
The duck walk.
Which is
in your underwear.
Squat in your underwear with a bunch of other guys you don't know. Squat down and walk from one end of a long room to the other end of a long room.
This sounds a lot like my Boston Brass audition, actually.
So, yeah, with my audition, I went through MEPS first, was seen as physically and mentally fit, even though they do make mistakes. And I flew out. So that was the last audition. They flew 4 of us out to the audition. Now we do not do taped rounds. The first round is open and is the preliminary round itself.
And were there any sort of curveballs or surprises along the way in terms of the rep that they asked you to play in each round, or was it pretty much stuff you would expect to see? Standard
audition, orchestral and band repertoire, the Pines, the Pictures, the Produshka, and some marches that I wasn't familiar with at the time, but being in the band now, it's the ones that the band frequently performs. And we end almost every single one of our auditions with Summon the Heroes. Nice big trumpet solo at the end of the audition to see if you can make it through and not bleed at the end.
And what about sight reading? Was there a lot of sight reading?
Not a ton. There was a sight reading march towards the end, right before we did the section playing in the very last round at the end of the day.
I know this is going back now a ridiculous amount of time. When I auditioned in 1990, and there was a whole bunch more sight reading, and I have heard that has changed. There was a much bigger emphasis on sight reading at that time than there is now. Do you know about that, or have you heard anything?
I do not. I don't know why or when that might have changed. I believe I sight read two things. One was a march. It was Washington Gray's march, I believe. And the sight reading with the section was something that they just put on the stand and had us play first on, which was Dvorak 9, The New World, the choral section.
And again, for anyone who doesn't know this, so in the Army, do you have to go to basic training or not?
You do. In almost every premier military band, except for the President's Own Marine Band and the Coast Guard Band, which is based up in Connecticut, we do go to basic training. It's the same basic training as any other military soldier goes through. It's not band basic training. There are different installations you can go to. Most of us go to Fort Jackson in South Carolina, which is where I was sent for 10 weeks.
That's a good time. That's really fun, isn't it?
It's a blast.
How old were you when you went to basic training?
I was 23 years old.
That's the thing. I was 23, 24.
I was the old guy in my platoon.
Exactly. They call you grandpa.
Yes.
Yeah. Good times.
Did you cry?
I did not cry.
Did you want to cry?
I wanted to leave.
Lance, where did you do your basic training? It was outside of San Antonio, right?
Yeah, San Antonio. It was June in San Antonio. Good time.
We
July in South Carolina.
Yeah.
We had a rehearsal with Boston Brass at the on the base. What's the name of the base?
Lackland Air Force Base.
Yeah, and we were pulling up, and Lance just got real tense, and I was just kind of wondering. I was like, we've pulled up to a lot of places. This is not really that, we've been on plenty of military bases, and then he was like, this is where I spent what felt like 9 years of my life in basic training. So Kevin, can you tell us what it was like after basic training?
As soon as we got out of basic training, we, unlike the rest of the military, we don't go to any extra schooling, any extra training, because the level of people that typically win premier band jobs have undergrad and or master's degrees in performance. So we've had our education prior.
Right.
So I went straight from Fort Jackson to Fort Myer, Virginia. They give you 24 hours, I believe, from the time you leave Fort Jackson to report to your next installation unit.
There you go.
My dad came and picked me up, drove across the country, and moved to Virginia.
Crazy. Yeah, we are literally in a practice room because one of the percussionists from the band just came in and needed
Took
to
his
use
marimba back.
Yeah, needed. I think it was that a xylophone? I thought. I think it was a xylophone.
All I know
I'm
is there's a little more room in here than there was a minute ago.
Yes, and he was.
I think it was a timpani.
Yeah, it was not a timpani. I know that. So, well, cool. How? What does your typical day look like in the ceremonial band?
In the ceremonial band, especially as a trumpet player, we have a variety of different missions and jobs that we could do in a given day. We do what's called full honor ceremonies, which are for active duty soldiers that have passed, as well as officers. And with that is a 15-piece band, which includes 3 trumpet players. When we go out, we usually we'll play a hymn to play the body into the chapel, and when they come, they bring the body out of the chapel. And then we proceed to march with the casket or the urn and the family and all the cars and all the procession through Arlington National Cemetery, while we'll play anywhere from 1 to 3 marches just to provide music and support for the ceremony. Then we line up at the gravesite, and as they're bringing the body off the horses and the casket again, we play another hymn as they bring it to the actual gravesite. And then there's always 3 trumpet players on a full honor funeral, and whoever's in the middle of the 3 steps out and plays taps at the appropriate time after the firing party. Then we also do what's called simple honor funerals, which is the same. It's a funeral in Arlington National Cemetery, but it doesn't include the entire band, so a bugler alone goes down, and same ceremony, same sequence of events, just no band. You just go down and play taps by yourself. We also support the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, which is in Arlington National Cemetery, and they do wreath-laying ceremonies every hour on the hour, and at the end of those ceremonies, taps is always sounded, so we always have some guys down there doing that. And then we have a variety of other opportunities, including parades, retirement ceremonies, brass quintets. Every day our schedule's a little different, which I enjoy for the variety, because every day you do something a little different.
When I was 12, I came down here to Washington, D.C. on a school trip and went to the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier and Saw somebody play taps. I have no idea who it was.
I don't think I was born yet.
Hey now, you ain't that young. I ain't that old. So can you tell us about your solo CD?
My solo CD I finished about a year and a half ago now, and I had always wanted to do a solo project, and it's something that was very eye-opening, and I had a great time doing it because no one really teaches you how to record, put together, market, anything about a solo project. And I decided not to go with any sort of major label company. I did it myself. I started my own record label, and I put it out through CD Baby and iTunes. So it was my project the whole time. I did exactly what I wanted, how I wanted to do it, and it was a really, really great experience.
What's the name of it?
The name is Connective Connections.
You're terrible at plugging your own things. Tell me about your solo CD. Okay, I will tell you, but I won't tell you what it's called or where you can get it.
It's called Connective Connections. You can get it on www.kevingebo.com. That's Gebo for Gebo.
Well, I hope that was as awkward for the audience as it was for us just
So
watching.
do I.
It. Yeah. Hey, did you know that the World Wide Web is 3 syllables and the acronym WWW is 9? It's deep, man. That's why Lance had me as a co-host on this podcast. It's thoughts like that where it's like mind blown.
Thoughts with Andrew Hitz.
Yeah, relatively deep thoughts.
It's because he can only count to 9. We just thought we would just get to there. Well, it's all the toes he has. So can you tell us what are the pieces on Connective Connections?
Connective Connections,
Gebo,
which you can get at
Gebo.
www.kevingebo.com.
That's Gebo.
Features some
Gebo.
music by some friends of mine that I've made along my musical path, including Jim Stevenson and Kevin McKee. I did 2 of Jim Stevenson's works, Bagatelle and his first concerto for trumpet. Kevin McKee wrote a piece called Centennial Horizon for solo trumpet and piano. And we also recorded with Mr. Andrew Hitz here, his brass quintet, Escape. I also did a couple arrangements of choral pieces that I liked, and I arranged them for a male vocal quartet and trumpet. So that was fun for me. That was something different that I hadn't heard done too often, and I was very pleased with how that came out. And at the end, I also did a couple pieces by Phil Snedeker for trumpet ensemble, which instead of hiring 8 trumpet players, because who wants 8 trumpet players in one room, I recorded all the parts myself.
That's called a target of opportunity.
And layered all the tracks on top of each other and recorded the trumpet ensemble as myself. And I also took an opportunity. I had a chance to meet and work with comedian, actor, musician Paul Reiser from Mad About You, which you've probably seen the sitcom before. He started off as a piano player, and we met a couple years back, and I asked him if he would play with me on that. So we did our own arrangement of Smile and Someone to Watch Over Me and one of Michael McDonald's songs called Peace.
So let's talk about that for a second because that's really cool. How did you meet him initially?
I got a call from my former mentor, Jens Lindemann, who we hope he's feeling better soon.
Feel better, Jens. SaveJensChops.org.
Paul Reiser and Julia Fordham had co-written this song that was dedicated to the families of soldiers overseas and the fallen soldiers, and they were hired and asked to do it on the Tonight Show with Jay Leno. And there was a piccolo trumpet solo in the middle of the piece that they had, and they wanted a military musician up there. And they'd gotten word of this, and I was contacted to see if I would be interested, in which I immediately said yes to. I thought that would be a really great experience for many reasons. Very quick turnaround. I believe I got the call on a Monday, and I was on a plane to LA rehearsing on Thursday, and I think we did the show Friday morning. So kind of came out of nowhere, but it was a really great opportunity.
He's a fantastic stand-up and great actor. And so how much of, what was he like as a person? What kind of interactions did you have? Did you get to hang out with him?
I did. We got to spend quite a bit of time together, and we've actually become friends over these last couple of years.
Where does he live? Is he in L.A.? Or?
He's in Los Angeles, Beverly Hills, and really nice guy, down to earth, as normal as anyone you would think could be. super nice guy, great family man, and he was really great to work with. And I had seen the show and I loved the show, so I knew him as the comedian and the actor. And then when I flew out there and heard him play piano, and he played some great jazz lines, and I had in the back of my head the first time I met him, like, wow, this would be a cool contact in person to work with. But I was thinking he would never, he's probably too busy, never want to do this with me. So when I came to do the project and I threw it out at him, he thought it was a really great idea, and he wrote the piano part that's on the recording. A lot of people have asked me for the transcription of it, but we don't have one because he just improvised on the spot, and that's what we came up with. But it was a blast to work with him. I actually flew out a couple different times to LA to perform concerts with him and Julia Fordham. We did some in New York. We did a couple out in LA again, and it's been a great experience. We still keep in touch. And
is there talk of doing more? I heard there was a podcast he was interviewed. I think it was Mark Maron's podcast that Paul Reiser was a guest on. He talks quite a bit. I'm sure it's available. Maybe 45 minutes or an hour. He talks about his musical background and where it started and why he decided to stop doing it, and that it's still a part of his life. But anyway, do you have future plans or projects to work with him again?
I would love to. There's nothing currently in the talks, but not something that I'm opposed to at all.
Yeah, I'd guess not. Famous Hollywood guys willing to work with me, yeah, I'll do it again.
It was actually a very humbling and amazing experience for me, that Michael McDonald piece that we recorded called Peace. Paul is friends with Michael and sent him the recording of Peace, which just that alone, I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. Like, Michael McDonald got to hear my version of his song. But it wasn't only that. He shot me an email back, Michael did, saying how much he enjoyed my arrangement of his songs, how it made him think of it in a different way, and how honored he was to hear it, which just totally blew my mind. So,
did you catch the trumpet move there where he just said, Michael sent me an email? Yeah, right. Michael. He's trying to get a comeback, and he's like, yeah. Usually his comebacks contain curse words, and we told him that he's not allowed to do that.
That's why I haven't said anything in response to that.
Yeah. I have an epic Kevin Gebo story from like 2 days ago that I can't tell, which is really, really, really unfortunate. And someday I'll be able to tell it.
Next podcast.
The next time we have him on, we will reveal the epic story that was, it was a doozer. So one thing I did just check, and the URL prayforjens.org is available. Although
not anymore.
Although by the time this thing airs, I think I'm going to spend $15 to park on that for it might just be a photo of us. So all of you right now should go to prayforjens.org right now.
And actually, if you want to record a short video wishing Jens well on the struggle, like a minute, 30 seconds, whatever you want to do, go ahead and send it to us at, you can send it to me. pedalnotemedia@gmail.com. Send us the link or send us the video, and we're going to start to put together this great video get well card for poor Jens.
I think the first person I'm going to call is his wife. Dr. Snow, we need a video, for your husband's chop problems.
I hate to spend so much time talking about Jens, but do you know the story about Jens's wife is Jennifer Snow?
Yes.
So when they were dating, Jennifer actually told this story. Jens, who cares why? So she was talking about the fact that when they were dating, Jens was very excited and was telling everyone at this party that they were at that Jennifer was absolutely, completely infatuated, head over heels in love with him, and was such a great, devoted girlfriend that she had changed her email account to jensnow@aol.com. Until Jen pointed out that it was Jen Snow. So once again, please send those videos right away.
that is a true story.
I did not know that one. That's a good one.
Jens now. All right. So speaking some more of Jens, he is how you and I met back in 2008, I believe it was, in Banff. We played in a brass quintet together. Can you talk about that experience?
Yeah, that was great. He had asked if I wanted to come out to Banff for the summer. He ran, and I believe still runs.
He does.
The Banff Summer Brass Institute out there. And I, of course, was already interested because I've heard of Banff as a great place to go for the summer. And then he told me that he wanted me to be a part of the faculty brass quintet, which I thought was even cooler than just going to Banff. And then I found out who was playing in the faculty brass quintet, and which included myself and Jens, Marty Hackelman on horn.
He's pretty good.
Joe Alessi on trombone.
He's pretty good.
And Andrew Hitz on tuba.
He's overrated.
Yeah.
That was a heck of a band.
That was a group that it's one of those experiences that you don't know if you'll ever quite get to match that again. And I tried to just soak in every moment of it and try and realize what I was getting to do and stay on best on top of my game with those people as I possibly could.
That is exactly how I felt. that was so much fun. Yeah, sitting in between Joe and Marty, they're both just such opinionated players that it's really easy to play with them.
So easy. It was one of maybe the best group I've probably ever gotten a chance to perform with.
It was the best group I've ever played with that didn't have Lance in it.
Yes.
So yeah, I just want to make that clear.
We don't want to feel left out here.
Yeah, exactly. All right. Do you have anything that you want to plug? Anything upcoming? Any upcoming projects?
No, but got a couple trips coming up. I'm going to be teaching a week at the University of Costa Rica this May, which is going to be quite a good time.
There you go. See, that's something to plug.
Got that coming up, and then we also have the recent, obviously, brass quintet CD that we mentioned in the beginning, the volume 1 of the brass recording project, which was a great experience. I'm in the very beginning stages of planning my next solo project, but that is so in the beginning. I do not have a title. I do not have a date, but 2015 for sure. So
I loved your last one. There was just a little too much trumpet for me. So yeah, just keep that in mind.
I should just be on 1 or 2 of the tracks on my next album.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, more Paul Reiser, less trumpet. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, you had said who would want 8 trumpet players in a room, and actually, I think I now want to hire people for an 8-person trumpet thing, because then I could get to say to someone, I want to hire you for 8th trumpet, and that would really bum somebody out, and that would be kind of fun, right?
That'd be great.
Yeah, 8th lead trumpet.
No, I'm also having a great time this semester. I was asked to teach and be the professor at Westchester University, so I'm getting to do that this semester. It's already been only a couple weeks since they've started, but it's a good experience to be out and be at the university setting, a different aspect of what we do. And
you're coming out to Slippery Rock later this spring too.
I'm
right?
also going to be at Slippery Rock University. I believe it's May 2nd, doing a recital masterclass and some lessons out there. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for letting us invade Fort Myer here.
Thank you. I think the building's semi-safe still.
Yeah, it seems that way. They didn't check my vehicle on the way in today, though. I think I must have looked extra trustworthy.
You do know that guy that took the marimba was not in the band as well.
Yeah. So my tuba that's in the hallway is gone? Is that what you're telling me?
Probably sold already. Check eBay.
I actually brought the baby yesterday to the workshop here, and they let me keep that side of the van closed. Yeah, he was all very official, and then he saw the baby, and he said, you can keep that door closed. I can see clear through the vehicle. And he was like, hello, little man. It was
things baby does, people.
Yeah, no, yeah, he's pretty darn cute. So yeah, my wife did good there. So cool. Well, thank you very much. What's your website?
KevinGebo.com.
That's right. You mentioned that. It was all awkward before and
Yeah,
stuff.
there's
Yeah,
9 syllables before it if you'd like. It's
Yeah,
www.kevingebo.com.
And you're on Twitter?
I'm on Twitter at TrumpetGebo.
At Trumpet Gebo.
And I have a Facebook page as well, which is just very original. Kevin Gebo.
Kevin Gebo. You like saying your name a lot, don't you?
You asked me, my friend.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Well, thank you so much for joining us. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for listening.
Thanks, guys.
You've been listening to The Brass Junkies on the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network. If you would like to help support the podcast in order to make more episodes like this one possible, please visit pedalnotemedia.com/donate for more details. Also, be sure to check out our latest recording, The Brass Recording Project, at brassrecordingproject.com. The Brass Junkies is produced by Hank Attaway, Austin Boyer, and Buddy Deschler of the Fredericksburg Brass Institute. Executive producers are Andrew Hitz and Lance LaDuke. This has been a presentation of the Pedal Note Media Podcast Network.